They were tackling a really complex figure, Muammar Gaddafi. Our sources, they paint this picture, well, a massive contradiction. You see him called the hero, the guy who brought wealth to Libya. And then in the same breath, the dog of the Middle East. Just infamous for brutality and, let's be honest, really bizarre behavior. So we've gathered sources covering his entire life, really.
Yeah.
From this, impoverished childhood right up to that very violent end. Our mission here is to try and figure out, well, the real measure of this man. His 42-year rule seems defined by this constant fear, this paranoia, and just endless reinvention.
Yeah, and what really jumps out looking at the material, especially after 2003, is that fear. When Saddam Hussein was captured,
Right.
Gaddafi was pretty much alone among Arab leaders saying publicly, look, if we don't stop America now, we're next.
That initial fear, the one others maybe dismissed as just paranoia, well, it seems like it drove everything he did afterwards and ultimately led to his downfall, just as he feared. That fear. That's the thread we need to follow then. Okay, let's start at the beginning. The revolutionary captain, what was driving him? Born in a hut? World War II.
Well, he comes from very little, son of a poor soldier, but he grew up on these stories of Omar Mukhtar, the Libyan resistance hero against the Italians.
Okay, so that revolutionary spirit was there early.
Seems like it. And then Libya gets this sort of fake independent brace
Time. A puppet king that could you play. And even though there's oil, really incredibly political.
So then the oil discovered, the real discovery, that changed the main food. Then I'm a soda
Well, you see the average income sprayer in near at $1 in near the day.
Wow.
But here's the catch. The puppet king basically lets the British control the wealth. Though the people see this potential, but they're still, politically suppressed.
And then ancient didn't know where they were.
But a dear oil them and simmering underneath. And the 6 Day War at 6 to 7.
Yeah.
That's neat.
It really was. The Arab space suffered this, just brushing the beat by Israel. And Libya's king, he does nothing, sits on the sidelines.
Humiliating for the people.
Apple shattered whatever crust it left. So back forward 2 years, 1969, where
Captain Gaddafi was only 27. He sees his moment.
And he grabbed it fast. Really fast.
Unbelievably fast, but
Gaddafi and his small circle of friends, they take the airports, the radio stations, military bases, the whole infrastructure in just 2 hours.
Yeah.
Yep. Total surprise. Everyone's waiting to hear from the army chief on the radio, right?
Yeah.
Gaddafi's already arrested him. Then he gets on the radio and announces he's the new leader. Just like that.
Bye. And his first moves are pretty bold. Martial law, kicking out U.S. soldiers.
Yeah. No messing around. U.S. soldiers ordered out. British oil controllers gone. And for the very first time, Libya takes control of its own oil, its own wealth.
That must have given him immediate clout internationally.
Huge leverage, and he uses it right away. He links up with Saudi King Faisal, and bam, they impose an oil embargo on the U.S. and the West.
The oil crisis of the 70s.
That's the one. Global prices go through the roof. But this new oil money, it's not just about power projection for Gaddafi. He starts using that at home. Big time.
Right, those social programs. Trying to win over the people who'd been poor for so long.
Exactly. He's basically trying to buy loyalty fast. If you don't have a home, the state gives you one, free.
Free houses.
Cars are subsidized. Government pays half the price. And then there's the famous or infamous marriage fund.
What was that exactly?
A huge chunk of money from the state, tens of thousands in US dollars equivalent, given to young couples when they got married to help them start out.
Okay, so he's building this image, the provider, the revolutionary interest people.
But then you get these contradictions, the socialist policies on one hand, and then these really controversial religious and cultural moves on the other.
Like funding that movie, The Message.
Exactly. That film about the life of the Prophet Muhammad. I mean, no other Islamic country would touch it. Too controversial. The conservative scholars were dead against it.
But Gaddafi did it anyway.
He brought the director to Libya, used his own army, thousands of troops for the big battle scenes like Badr and Uhud. He clearly saw it as a way to position himself as this, leader of revolutionary Islam, a cultural statement.
His willingness to kind of bend the holes, even religious ones, for political gain. Well, it shows up in his foreign policy too, right? Especially with India and Pakistan.
Yeah.
That relationship seems incredibly transactional.
Oh, completely. Gaddafi didn't really have allies, he had interests. So in Nishra, he's all in with Pakistan during its war with India. He even writes this angry letter to Indira Gandhi criticizing the attack. He becomes really close friends with Pakistan's leader, Zulfikar Ali Bhutto. They even start this secret deal transferring nuclear technology to Libya.
Wow, okay. Nuclear tech.
Yeah, but then Pakistan has a coup. General Zia-ul-Haq takes over and executes Bhutto.
And Gaddafi's reaction.
A complete 180. Total break. He cuts ties with Pakistan immediately. He actually orders all Pakistanis working in Libya, thousands of them, to be expelled.
Harsh.
And then he turns around and builds a close relationship with India, Bhutto's enemy.
So in just a few years, he goes from being Pakistan's nuclear partner to India's close friend.
Exactly. It just shows you his focus was purely on power, self-preservation, whatever worked for him in that moment. No fixed loyalties.
But that didn't stop him poking the bear, did it? Antagonizing the West. We've seen the revolutionary, but now we get into the dog of the Middle East era.
Yeah, the 80s were tense. You have incidents just piling up. Like in 1984, shots fired from the Libyan embassy in London kill a British police officer.
I remember that. Huge international incident.
And then the bombing of that nightclub in Germany targeting US soldiers.
Right. And that's when Reagan really goes after.
Decisively. And personally, Reagan publicly calls him that name, Mad Dog of the Middle East. And then he launched a missile strike directly targeting Gaddafi's palaces.
And tragically, his adopted daughter, Hannah, is killed in those strikes.
Yes, a young girl. And, you know, those strikes, plus what happens later with Saddam Hussein in Iraq, it seems to trigger what you call the Great Reversal.
His paranoia comes flooding back.
Absolutely. The West is tightening the screws, and then comes the big discovery. A cargo ship heading to Libya is intercepted on board. 1,000 centrifuge tubes, the kind you need for making nuclear bombs.
So he got caught red-handed trying to build the bomb.
Pretty much. And at that point, he just folds. He publicly announces Libya is giving up its nuclear weapons program, cooperates fully with the US.
He blinked. Sacrificed the ambition to save himself.
And it wasn't just cooperation, he named names. He basically gave the US the entire supply chain, including, crucially, the Pakistani scientist A.Q. Khan.
So he threw his old suppliers under the bus.
Completely. And it worked. In a way, sanctions on Libya were lifted, he survived. But only by betraying everyone who helped him get close to the bomb.
Okay, the immediate threat is gone. Sanctions are lifted. His personality seems to get even more, well, eccentric after this, doesn't it? The vanity seems to explode.
It's a strange turn. The sources talk about this desperation for attention, maybe validation. There's the story about the botched plastic surgery.
Oh, right, trying to look younger.
Yeah, he brought in doctors from Brazil, Italy, Pakistan, but apparently it backfired, left his face scarred. Like, you know, what happened with Michael Jackson, some say?
And this vanity plays out politically, too, these bizarre stunts.
Definitely, like the whole tent diplomacy thing, insisting on setting up his huge Bedouin tent for meetings wherever he went. Paris, New York.
Feet on Donald Trump's lawn, wasn't it?
Yeah, in Westchester, New York, he rented property from Trump, set up the tent, and then local officials basically kicked him out. Humiliating.
Well, what about the female bodyguards, the Amazonian guard?
Ah, yes. This force of like 400 women, supposedly all beautiful sworn virgins who pledged never to marry.
What was the point of that?
His official line was it showed the freedom and power of Arab women. But really, it was pure spectacle, political theater. They were incredibly loyal, though. Sources say at least one died protecting him. His whole public life became this kind of weird performance art.
And then there was that incident in Italy with the young women.
Oh, that caused a huge stir. He apparently invited like 200 young Italian women. The call specified 18 to 35, tall, attractive to this event.
Under what pretense?
Some sort of cultural exchange party? But then he apparently spent the time trying to convert them to Islam and handing out copies of the Quran. It was widely ridiculed across Europe. Just another bizarre, attention-seeking move.
So by the mid-2000s, he seems almost bored with the Arab world, turns his attention elsewhere.
Yeah, he basically declares the Arab world is dead, done with it. He pivots completely towards Africa, courses oil money into the continent, builds alliances, and many African leaders embrace him, and they start calling him the King of Kings of Africa.
King of Kings, okay. But this pivot, Africa, it leads to something potentially even more dangerous for him, doesn't it? Something beyond just internal politics.
You mean challenging the dollar?
Exactly. The sources suggest he was trying to fundamentally change how African oil was sold.
He was. This is crucial. Gaddafi starts pushing for African oil to be paid for not in US dollars, but in gold, or in a new gold-backed African currency. He was trying to create the gold dinar.
And other African leaders were actually considering this.
Many were reportedly on board. And you have to understand, for listeners maybe not familiar with the petrodollar system, this is a massive threat to the established global financial order.
Explain that. Why is demanding gold instead of dollars such a big deal?
Well, since the 70s, pretty much all international oil sales have been priced and settled in US dollars. That's the petrodollar system. It forces every country needing oil, which is basically every country, to hold huge reserves of US dollars.
Which props up the dollar's value.
Exactly. It creates artificial demand for the dollar and helps finance US debt. It's a cornerstone of American global power. So when Gaddafi says, no more dollars, we want gold, he's attacking the very foundation of that system.
So arguably, that move might have been seen as a bigger threat than any internal rebellion.
It's a very strong argument. Was this move to de-dollarize African oil the thing that finally made him too dangerous to leave in power? It's a key question.
And his behavior was getting more erratic on the world stage, too. That final UN appearance.
Oh, that was something else. He was supposed to speak for 15 minutes. He went on for 90. Ranted, tore up a copy of the UN Charter.
Threw his book at the assembly leader, claiming it solved the Palestine issue.
Yep, just completely defiant, unhinged almost, setting the stage for the final act. Then the Arab Spring erupts.
Tunisia, Egypt,
Yeah.
and then it spreads to Libya.
Protests start. But Gaddafi seems totally disconnected from reality. He's quoted as saying, "They all love me," even while his forces are reportedly killing thousands of protesters.
But the sources say he was actually winning the ball against the rebels initially.
It seems that way. The rebels were struggling. And that's the point when NATO and the US intervene directly. Airstrikes.
And they don't just hit military targets, they hit his family.
They kill his biological sons, his grandchildren. It becomes very personal, a clear message that the regime itself, the family structure, is being targeted.
So with Tripoli falling, his family targeted. He flees.
Yeah, he tries to escape the capital with his remaining son, Mutassim. They're in this huge armored convoy, like 75 vehicles, trying to make a break for it.
But they're spotted.
A NATO jet spots this massive convoy moving through the desert. Then US drones attack. Chaos.
And the end. It wasn't dignified, was it? After 42 years in power?
Not at all. The attack forces Gaddafi and his son out of their vehicle. They end up hiding in like a concrete drainage pipe.
A gutter.
Hiding in a pipe. The rebels find them, drag him out. There are reports, videos, him pleading with the ciphers, saying things like, "My son, don't kill me. What did I do?" He's killed, allegedly shot with his own famous golden pistol, a sort of final grim irony.
The immediate aftermath was stark.
Oh.
His body bit him despair.
Yeah, in a commercial freezer in a market in Misrata for days for people to queue up and see. A really grim spectacle.
And the longer-term consequence for Libya?
Utter chaos. It's striking, isn't it? 42 years of one-man rule and then just collapse. Years of British civil war followed. It became one of the most dangerous failed states in the world. The economy halved. Maybe 1 million people killed or displaced over the years since. It's catastrophe. Even President Obama later called the failure to plan for the aftermath in Libya his biggest mistake.
So wrapping this up, Gaddafi's story feels like a cycle, doesn't it? That initial paranoia about ending up like Saddam. It came true.
It absolutely did. His life is just this incredible case study of power, extreme eccentricity, and how geopolitical fear can shape everything. He was killed almost exactly as he predicted Saddam would be. And it's telling that even toward the end, some of his final defiant acts were actually in support of Saddam. Sending Aisha, Woting, and trying to bribe prison guards. That fear was always there.
And moving beyond the perimeter, that shift he made.
Yeah.
From Arab unity, which failed him, to African unity.
Right, and as part of that African focus, he makes that direct challenge to the global financial system, demanding gold for oil.
Which brings us to that final thought for you, the listener. To what extent did that move Gaddafi as the King of Kings trying to ditch the dollar ultimately seal his fate? Perhaps even more than the Arab Spring protests themselves. Something to think about until our next deep dive.